What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Moguls. My name is Findlay-Shirras, and we have on today's show Dimitri Kalkounis, president and broker record at Blue Door Realty here in Toronto. And one of the cool things about Dimitri is he's also an IT specialist, so he's got a really great understanding of technology. So it's gonna be really great to learn from him and what he thinks about real estate and the future of real estate and how technology plays a role. He's also worked in other industries in real estate, which I think can be an edge for people in the industry to have experience and been successful in other industries and take some of that knowledge and apply it to an industry that's kind of been old school and slow to adopt. So he's worked in energy, agriculture, environment, software, pharmaceuticals, security, food and beverage, and their list just continues. He's a mentor at Futurepreneur. He loves craft beer. There's actually one down the street. Do you like it?
I have some in the fridge, actually, if you want. I can go grab some.
So
after the interview.
Let's get started and get to know Dimitri. Thanks, man, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just get everyone to get to know you a little bit. Why'd you get into real estate?
Glutton for punishment. No. So I started in real estate, or I got my license in real estate to be my own investor, handle my own transactions. Be that DIYer and just kind of get it done. So I did that for a while. My wife is a full-time real estate agent, has for a number of years, and we decided at one point that the transition should probably naturally progress and get at IT, because I was in IT for a long time. So I date myself a little bit, but it was almost 19 years in IT.
Is that, do you think it's a good thing or bad thing that a lot of people who invest in real estate go get their license so that they don't have to pay a realtor to help them go invest in real estate?
If I were to do it over again, I would probably say no to myself. From the reasoning that you should really be an expert in whatever you do. You should have the time and patience to research and do your due diligence and do all those things. If you are an investor or even a person buying a home for yourself, and you're going through this process that can be quite cumbersome, that you don't realize has all these nuances, are you really paying that much attention to it? You have other things on the go. So should you do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that? It depends on the person, I guess. For me personally, if I were to do it all over again, probably not. No, I would go and say, you're my guy or woman, do this work for me, let's get it done, right? And here's my criteria, my list, right? And go from there.
Now, you started Blue Door, and it's an independent brokerage right from the start. You didn't join any other brokerage. So how come you didn't join a big brokerage franchise and just have a team or a brokerage within a brokerage?
My wife will tell you that I'm a control freak a little bit. And I think that is partially true. From the standpoint that what I feel a brokerage should provide to its agents, what I feel a brokerage should provide to the marketplace, doesn't fit with a lot of brands. So to go out and join a large corporation and be just another franchise didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time, and it still really doesn't, because I can go out and do what I need to do for the market, the times, the agents, whatnot, and having that oversight, having that the reporting structure that is part of the franchise world didn't make a lot of sense to me. So the benefit to me right now is I'm a small brokerage. I have 9 agents plus myself. If I want to add a new service, I can do so. If I try that service and it doesn't work, I can get rid of it. I have that agility that some of those bigger brands may not have. I'm not saying they all don't, but they may not have. And to me, that is a bigger component to what we do.
When you got started, a lot of people talk about like all these policies and procedures and audits that have to happen to get a brokerage started, because we have some people who may want to start their own independent brokerage. What was that process like? Was it really as hard as some people talk about, where they're like, oh, you got to do all this stuff with RICO, and they come in and audit you all the time? And what was that process like, and was it that hard?
Nothing's extremely difficult. It's time consuming and there's paperwork. RICO and the various boards will look at your name, your company, your corporate setup and the like. They have some decision making that they make for you. Naming is one of them. So we couldn't get the name that we originally wanted, or the variation of the names that we originally wanted, for various reasons, and that took us about 6 months. So just getting the name and making sure there was no conflict.
What do you want to call it?
It was still Blue Door, but it was Blue Door Realty, and there was conflict between Blue Door and Red Door and Company X in this province and Company Y in that province.
Really?
And they look at all those things and say, there's a 40% chance that someone may confuse this with this, so you can't have that.
Okay.
Right? And just that process, not that it's a big complicated thing, but just the process to go through it was time consuming.
Got it. Okay.
So.
Now, you had a really great first year and you've been successful getting it going. So what do you think are some of those things that you did that allowed you to be successful to get started with brokerage?
So we're going into our third year. We've been maybe lucky. We've doubled in growth each year as we've progressed. So hopefully this year we'll do the same. So some of the core values that differentiate us from what we feel are our competitors is what we're sticking to and what we're trying to drive forward in the marketplace. We are a small group. We focus on the client. We focus on the transaction. We focus on some of the consulting side of things, and that's kind of where my background comes in, to come up with solutions for the client. A lot, and I'm generalizing, but there are real estate agents that look at things from a transaction standpoint, where you're going for your next lead, your next job, your next sale, your next. But what we kind of preach in here to our agents is it's not just your next, it's also your previous. And in any business, especially sales, your client database is gold. And you should be nurturing that database. You should be working that database, keeping in touch with them, providing value in future, even if there's no money in that value, if you're not charging a transaction fee or whatever that it is. And that's, to me, anyways, how you continue to drive business going forward. So we've been lucky, maybe, successful, depends on the day and the verbiage that you want to use, where we've had a lot of our clients continue to work with us. I personally don't have a client that has ever left me, for example, because of the fact that I feel anyways that it's a customer service driven industry and we provide that to them. Some of them are now friends and some of them are ex-colleagues and the like. But to me, that is just as important as trying to go out and get that next lead, trying to get that next sale.
Is there anything that you've been able to do for clients or for your business that if you were a part of a big company, you might not have been able to do?
From a client perspective, not really, because at the end of the day, take away the branding, take away the names, take all that away. The service is the service. You're providing a service for someone who's looking to buy, sell, invest, rent, etc. So I don't think so from that side. From the corporate standpoint, from the brokerage standpoint, we implemented some technology in Toronto that others hadn't been able to yet, because at the time I had 4 agents. Right. So rolling something out to 4 people is a lot easier than to 1,000 people. So those little things give me a leg up. I don't see Blue Door as a massive 1,000-person brokerage. In fact, I will never want to be that. I see it as a community-based group, 30, 40 agents-ish, and then we'll look at another office and kind of replicate the same thing. The growth plans on my side is really geared around who else can I find that's like me? Yeah. Because if there's no other me in that other office, then that office doesn't exist, right? I meet with my agents once a week. That's difficult to do if you have 1,000 agents, unless it's on video or on Skype or something like that. So just those little things are important to me in the brokerage and the brand. So that plays into how I will do things going forward.
What do you see for the industry? I mean, I think on the whole scale, it looks like teams and independent brokerages are on the rise. What do you see as the future? Do you see a whole bunch of people who will have little independent brokerages just like you, because that flexibility, that nimbleness allows them to actually, with technology innovating so quickly, that actually aligns with being able to quickly add, edit, and delete services and technologies out of your business. What do you see for the future in terms of like the brokerage business models and how independents might go up or down?
I hope they go up. not because I'm against any big company, but I think that as we continue to grow in this industry, as technology does evolve and automate certain tasks or make things simpler in some way, shape, or form, then the differentiating factor between agents and brokerages is going to be the service. And it doesn't matter, what technology you lay onto it, it's the service that really matters to the customer. Even if it's a discount model, it's the service that matters. So as these independent brokerages are popping up, as these teams are popping up, they're really, if you break it down, they're really geared towards customer service. So I feel that more of these independent groups are going to start coming up a little bit because their brand of client service, their brand of branding, their ancillary services, et cetera, are going to start coming out a little bit more, right? So as we have other groups like Purple Bricks and Comfrey and Property Guys and whatnot coming into the marketplace, I don't see that as a disruptor, as some people would, because I don't think that is going to change the industry. Mm-hmm. That's adding a level of service that someone is going to use for whatever reasons. And if that's what their thing is and that's what they want to try, by all means, go do it. Mm-hmm. I did it before I was a real estate agent. I hired a discount brand. It was a horrible, horrible idea for me. It didn't work out. I hired someone that was full service. I paid a lot more money. I lost some money because I had paid for the other services, but they achieved the goals that I wanted to achieve. So those groups, I don't think are a disruptor from the standpoint that they're gonna, kill all the real estate agents. They hire real estate agents, right? Yeah. But what it's gonna do is gonna force real estate agents, gonna force brokerages to find other ways to service their clients. Be that in property management, concierge services, moving services, and the like. So I think if you are an independent group or you're with a large organization that can implement these things on a faster pace, then technology will merge and marry with those groups and be able to service clients at a better rate.
I mean, as you're saying that, I'm just thinking, adoption is one of the biggest keys to success, especially with all these new things that people want, that the consumer wants, that brokerages and realtors want to provide. Mm-hmm. And adoption is also usually the common thread that I hear is the biggest challenge that most teams and brokerages have, and if you're smaller, adoption becomes, as you said, easier. Mm-hmm. And it can be.
Right.
Any surprises when starting a brokerage that you didn't expect to let some people who are interested in doing it?
No. You become a babysitter a lot of the times. Dealing with some agents can be interesting at times. You're dealing with a lot of personalities. Mm-hmm. You're more psychologist at some time than you are agent or broker. Clients, you're dealing with emotions. Agents, you're dealing with emotions and their running of their business. Mm-hmm. And I think the one piece that a lot of people don't realize when they get into real estate is you run your own company. You are an entrepreneur. You have your own business. You have your own HST number. You have to pay the government, you have to pay the CRA, you have to do all these things yourself. And I don't think people realize how much work that is. Because, if you see someone that's successful, they make it look easy, right? Anyone can make beer. It's not that easy. Anyone can grow a garden. It's not that easy. Anyone can be in real estate. The TV shows make it look very easy. Yeah. But in reality, it's not that simple. Yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. So when they come in the industry and they start realizing that, then it makes my job a little bit easier. I have to coach and train and mentor some of those groups and those personalities. I didn't think I would have to do that as much when I opened the brokerage, but learning things, right?
You've probably bought lots of services, bought lots of technologies, tried a bunch of different things out. In hindsight now, is there anything that you would have done differently in the first 3 years? Because it would have helped you out or not caused as problems that it did?
Yeah, I didn't take my own advice. And I say that, that's the best way to put this. I didn't practice what I preach. So when I work with a small business through, one of the organizations, or I was, working in an organization, you would come in there and you would say, these are the things you need to do. Don't be cheap. Don't look for the quick and easy solution. When you're doing it yourself it's not always that simple. It's not always that objective. You're not always looking at it from, the third party. So in retrospect, certain decisions that I made, I don't regret because I made them and they're my choices. But there was probably a better way to do certain things.
Any examples?
Maybe our web presence, our branding. I went with the first branding group that I came up with, and I have great logos and designs, but they weren't really me. I guess they weren't really what we were trying to get at. So now we're doing some things over again. Our online presence, we went with certain groups and certain technologies because I thought certain things would be necessary. You need to have your listings on your website. You need to have lead generation. You need to have landing pages and all those things that you think you should have. But you start to realize from the brokerage level that none of that really matters because, yes, the majority of people go online to look at a listing, but how many people are coming to your website to do that? And if they're coming to your website to do that, and you're not giving them other advice or you're not giving them other options and you're not working them through those processes, then it's just a fancy website with some listings on it. So I think if I were to go back and look at some of those things, I would redo them and think about where people are going and why and match those things up.
Very cool. Okay. Now, to talk more about, you're in the marketplace and you're now trying to say, here's my unique selling proposition, here's my differentiator, here's why you should come to Blue Door versus any other brokerage. What are some of the things that you say to help you stand out, help people want to work with you versus the competition?
So we fired clients, and I'm happy to do so. For various reasons. We're the first ones to tell you that this isn't going to work for X number of reasons. We try to set expectations from the beginning. I have this checklist that I give to all the agents to kind of go through and show someone that they're meeting with. These are all the things that we need to do. And the first page of it is really figuring out what the person wants, what they need, trying to determine, they say they want this, but do they really want that? Are there other options that they can look at that they might not have thought about? And it goes further to the buyer side, where a lot of people come to a website or realtor.ca or whatever service to look at listings and then call the agent later. And when I meet a buyer, I tell them that that's great and you should do that. You should look at listings and you should look at different homes in different areas and whatnot, but involve someone. Because if you involve someone that is external, that isn't as vested, that doesn't have that emotional attachment to an area or a type of home, they may have some other creative solutions. Or they may have another neighborhood that might match better. Or they may have information about that street that you don't know about. So from the brokerage standpoint and from the agent standpoint, I'm trying to bring in a team that has that same philosophy and has that understanding that it's not just I'm going to go show someone a house because they said this is what they really like on this website. It's more of what are you looking for, why are you looking for it, and try to understand what's best potentially for them. It may not be, but what's the best solutions for them, and then go from there.
What is your process for recruiting agents? That's a challenging thing for a lot of brokerages.
Yep.
Not only to get them in, but also get the right people in.
Yep.
What's your process? How do you do it?
I don't do it very well. There's a reason for that. I'm a little brutally honest sometimes. And I think the number of agents that I've met between now or today and November, so it's quite a time frame, I think I'm still in touch with about 3 or 4 of them. And it may be 40, 50 agents. And the reason for that is, I like to have a conversation with someone first, if they obviously want to come in and talk to me, who they are, what they do, what their philosophy is, et cetera, and see if there's that fit in the organization. Being that I am smaller, I don't have the number of administrative staff that other groups have or need for them, in that matter of fact. I want to make sure that the person who does come in fits in with everybody else. Because this is still a company. And it's very easy to see other agents as competition and not as a part of the organization that you're with, right? And the best example is, you're an independent company, you do your own work, you work from home, you work from Starbucks, you work from wherever you are, but what happens when you go on vacation?
Yeah,
Eventually you're going to go. Do you have a team around you that you can rely on, that's going to service your client, that's not going to screw you over? Because that happens a lot as well, right? So the people that I talk to and the agents and brokers that I bring into the brokerage all have a very similar mindset to those things, which has worked out quite well, because if someone needs help and an email goes out to everybody, someone's going to reply pretty quickly and say, I'll go, I'll help.
That's cool. Right. I mean, that is, for quality of life, which a lot of agents sometimes struggle with.
Yep.
To be able to have a team that can help them out, yep. And believe in them.
But it's all business, right? Any entrepreneur, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Right? Okay. Now, looking into the future of real estate, we have some cool technologies that are starting to be implemented again and enhanced, like AI, machine learning, blockchain, virtual reality, 3D. What are some of the technologies that you're excited about seeing to help either the brokerage or the agent or the consumer, that maybe you haven't implemented yet, but you're excited to see what happens in the future?
Well, I'll preface that to a lot of the technologies that kind of coming out. I'm curious to see a little bit more of that. I think the general marketplace sees it as a major game changer in the real estate industry. I don't know how yet, but it'd be interesting to see how that changes the buyer process. It'd be interesting to see how that brings to the market a better understanding of people's wants and needs and habits and all those things. So I can see that. I've heard, and this is anecdotally, but I've heard people say, well, this is the Netflix of real estate, or this is the whatever, Airbnbs of whatever, the Ubers of the world. But I don't know if it is. Because when you look at Airbnb, or you look at Uber, you look at Netflix, they were there to solve a problem. So having an artificial intelligence that can tell you what a buyer is looking for, or habits, that is a problem, because it helps you, but how does that change the game? Right? Airbnb is successful because it changes how someone can earn money from a property that they have, investment or their basement or whatnot. Uber changes the game because do you really need a car anymore? Maybe, maybe not. It's cheaper than other forms of transportation in many cases. So that changes the game. I haven't seen yet a technology that's going to change the game in real estate, but there are quite a few things coming out that are ancillary to the service side of it, which will make it easier.
Well, so what do you think? So, like my analogy is, in the past, realtors used to have the book, and that was part of their job. They had to show people what was on the market. Now, technology took that job away from them, and that's a great thing.
Yes, it's a time saver.
So, what is the jobs that you see realtors are doing right now themselves that AI or machine learning might be able to do? Like, do you actually think that technology will value homes better than an agent can? So that, again, it allows the agent to then do other things in that whole process.
I think it's immature at this point. I think it can, but I don't think it's there, right? And you look at Zillow, right? And what Zestimates or whatever they're called in the US. And more often than not, they're incorrect. And the reason they're incorrect is, the fundamental technology database. Crap in is crap out, right? So there are other factors in real estate that affect numbers. Did a real estate agent buy that house and there's no commissions on it, or there's a discount? Because that changes the value. Was that house transferred to a family member and they paid $1, right? Those things change value. So when a program or AI or whatnot goes through those numbers, is it at the point where it's looking at that and saying, well, that's irrelevant, or that should be this number and we'll reflect that? And the answer is I don't know. I don't know enough.
Yeah, right? I wonder if the data will ever get there, because that is my thing. Is all tech companies require the data to provide a good service or analysis, and if the data is not good, crap in, crap out. And I don't know if the data will ever be good enough.
I don't know. In a lot of cases where you are relying on data, there's still a human element there, right? Because anyone can take a statistic and look at it from two different angles and give you two different stories, right? So when you look at just strictly numbers, there are nuances that need to be adjusted for. So I think that the technologies can get there. I think that there may be some things that are almost there, but I still think there's a human element so far, right? Ask me again in a year, and that may be a different answer. But I definitely see, some change coming, and that will make the life easier for somebody. Instead of pulling up, 5 pages of comparables and doing the old plus and minus. This one has 4 bedrooms, this one has 3 bedrooms. Well, that one looks nicer than this one, or that has a better, curb appeal, et cetera, et cetera. And you're doing this plus and minus, calculation. Technology can do that, but it just has to understand the nuances there.
When you think about the challenges that agents and brokerages face that still have not really been solved yet, what are some of those challenges that you guys experience as agents or brokers?
See, the transaction isn't the hard part of the process. The transaction is the easiest part. It's paperwork, essentially, right? It's the other side of it. It's the emotional side of it. And you can see a huge difference in commercial and residential as well. If I am selling my home that I've lived in for 50 years, I am emotionally attached to that. No matter what I say, there is emotional attachment there. So managing that is a big component to what we do. Being able to provide information to someone is a big thing that we can do. And there was a big debate in the Toronto real estate industry over the last year about home prices and sold prices, right? Releasing the data. But what is the harm in releasing the data? Right? Some agents and some brokerages saw it as, well, this is our information and this is our value add. But is it? It's not. It's sold data. It's the context. So I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is educating the marketplace that it's not just a number game. It's not just, this house is, sitting on the street, so it's worth this much. There's other factors to it. And there's emotional attachments to things that play into the transaction.
Now, in order to educate, it's like top of the funnel. I need to get people's attention. I need to be able to get in front of them some way, shape, or form so I can build a relationship, so I can educate them so that they know the value that I bring. Yep. What are the things that you guys do to do that? And what are the challenges that maybe you face in that process?
So there's no generalization there, right? It's not like you can take out an ad in a newspaper or have a commercial on TV, because at the end of the day, if you're not paying attention to real estate or you're not actively involved in a search, then you don't care, right? Your parents live in a house, they're not looking to sell it, they don't care what happens around them, right? So when you meet with someone, it really is that conversation, that education, that time to really understand what they want to do, why they want to do it, where they want to get to, and explain what we do. And that's kind of the reason why I've put together some of the the checklists and the documents that I have an agent go in with, so they can see that there's a lot of steps that we have to get through, but we're here to walk you through all those things. Once you can kind of get to that point, which some people just want to bypass altogether, then they start to understand a little bit more of what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. And in a lot of cases, when you sit down with someone and say, okay, well, what do you want? And they say, I want a house and I'm going to pay $800,000 and I need 3 bedrooms. And you say, great, and where do you want to be? And they say Forest Hill. The conversation changes because you couldn't buy a house like that 5 years ago there. But when you start asking the questions and you start saying, well, then there's this option or that option, or, you don't work downtown, so why do you really want to be downtown? Or do you really want to own a house? Right? You live in I'll give you an example. I have a client right now who doesn't have the unlimited budget, who has a great rental in a great area of the city, and they're paying $1,600 a month for a 3-bedroom. Right? It's just because they've been there for a very long time. Yeah. And they want to get into the marketplace because they feel that they should get into the marketplace. That, the real estate market in Toronto is skyrocketing, and if we don't get in, we're going to lose this opportunity, because in 4 or 5 years, maybe we won't be able to. But with them, as the discussions have progressed, it's become, well, why do you want to get in the marketplace to go live in this? So now they're an investor. Right? because I don't have to buy something and live in it to be in the market.
Totally.
So they're going to get into the market because they're going to become an owner of something in a real estate market. They're going to hopefully have appreciation over the next couple of years, but they're not going to live in it. They're going to become a landlord.
Deal where they live.
That's right. So in 3-4 years, maybe the situation changes.
There's a lot of people that talk about that, people not buying homes as much anymore to live in. Is that something that you're experiencing or no?
Yeah, I've seen it a few times. A couple clients right now, they're doing that, exactly that. They rent, they have great rental, they work downtown and they can walk to work, and that's a huge thing for them. But they have money in a bank account for whatever reasons, and I can put it in stocks and bonds and investments, or I can buy real estate, which has been traditionally a great investment in Toronto especially. So why not? And if I want to live in it in 5 years, I'll live in it. And if I decide that I don't want to live in it, I'll sell it. Yeah. Or if my life takes me to Georgetown or Niagara Falls or whatever for work, I can go buy something there.
Very cool. Okay. Right? So now we have investors who invest in tech companies and in the future of real estate watching this. So if you were an investor, what would be some of the companies or the technologies that you would want to invest in, or the problems that you would want to invest in solving?
I think I've said it a couple of times, but it's that ancillary, it's that added value to the transaction. So technologies that are built around concierge services or moving services, I think those are value. Property management, or the ease of property management, the transaction side of those things, I think those have value. I think there's some good areas in AI to kind of predict what people want and where they're trying to get to. So definitely some stuff there. That'd be my focus right now. It'd be those kind of areas. There's, without naming some names, but there's like MoveSnap and those groups. I think those could be the
shout out to Reuven. I know him.
the players to kind of look at, because they're adding value to otherwise a very simple transaction, or potentially simple transaction.
Cool. All right, so to finish off, I got some lightning round questions, some rapid fire stuff.
All right. Should I be scared?
Get your gut perspective on some things.
Okay.
All right, ready? What's the number one reason why agents fail?
They assume that this is very easy. HGTV's taught them that real estate is so simple, and that I'm just going to go out, I'm going to get a client, show them one house, and make $1 million. It's not true. Not true at all.
Expectations.
Expectations,
all right. Yeah. What's your best advice to a new realtor if they want to get their client in the first 30 days? What should they do?
Get out and work. You can't make money sitting at a computer in your home office or in a Starbucks playing on Facebook all day.
All right, so if I am a new agent and I want to specialize and be successful, where do you think there's the best opportunity? Should I specialize on a certain type of home like condos or lofts, or a certain type of clientele like first-time home buyers or investors, or pick a geographic area like a neighborhood or a part of a town and just go deep?
Depends on the person. Okay. If you are a millennial that lives downtown and only knows condos, why would you go sell houses in Lawrence Park? Do what you know, do what you're comfortable with, and run with it. The old adage of fly our neighborhood, put up some billboards, go knock on a bunch of doors and you'll be successful in that neighborhood doesn't necessarily work today. There's just too many agents. So, find what you love, find what you're good at, whatever that is, and run with it.
Very cool. What should agents spend more of their money on so they can build their business and make more money? Would you say buy items of value to give people so they can get more relationship and referral-based business, or buy leads and software to create a lead conversion system?
50-50. I think one plays into the other. Relationships matter, period. It doesn't matter how you build the relationship, they matter. And some agents looking at lead generation and online, it may not work for them because they don't have that face-to-face. I have an agent that you can spend millions of dollars on leads and it won't take them anywhere. You put him in a room with 50 people and he'll make 25 acquaintances. Yeah. Right? So again, whatever works for you, run with it. If you are charismatic and be in a room and network, go do it. If you're a little more maybe reserved or introvert and you're providing more information and that kind of service,
do leads.
Pay for the leads.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you find agents waste a lot of time on?
It's that mentality of go towards the next and don't look at the past. So it's unfortunate, and there's numbers, I've heard different numbers, but the majority of people that use a real estate agent don't end up using that same real estate agent. And the reason why, for the most part, is either they're not kept in touch with, they're not talking to them, they're not actively engaged in some way, shape, or form, or they just provide a really shitty service, right? So building your database is very important. Your database is, what's the way to put it? Like a bank account, I guess is the best way, where you're putting things into it with the intent that in the future you'll get something out of it. But your past clients are just as valuable. So, you should continue to go after them.
Versus
follow up,
hunting.
talk to them, provide value to them.
Yeah.
Sending an email saying hi is great, but there's no value to that either.
Yeah.
Right? Knocking on their door randomly is creepy. Don't do that,
Yeah.
unless you're friends with them. But yeah, provide value to someone. That's all everybody wants. Value.
Okay. What do if you had to say, this is what my agents need to do more of every day so that they can build a bigger business, what is that thing that you keep telling them? You guys got to do more of this.
It's individualized. So one agent needs to go out and talk to his pre-existing. One agent needs to go out and network and drink more or something. I shouldn't tell people that, but he'd probably go out and be a little more social. So it depends on the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's more powerful to help an agent make money from a branding perspective, the brokerage's brand or their personal brand?
Being the broker, I want to say the brokerage's brand, but it's not. It's your personal brand. You need to have your own personal thing, because at the end of the day, no one knows what brokerage you work for.
Yeah.
Right? I get asked if I work for Remax all the time. It doesn't matter, right? So.
How can people get in touch with you? If they want to get to know you, maybe come to the brokerage, work with you, how can they contact you?
BlueDoorRealty.ca, or email me, Dimitri at BlueDoorRealty.ca.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, well, that's it for today's episode. As always, guys, if you have not subscribed and you want to be great in real estate and you want to learn from moguls and experts like Dimitri, then click that bell icon if you're on your phone, click subscribe on YouTube, or if you're on podcast, click subscribe so you can stay in touch and get to know more people in the industry.